Hello again, boxing fans, and welcome to episode number 312 of the Neutral Corner Boxing Podcast. I am your host, Michael Montero, for The Ring Magazine, The Ring Digital YouTube channel, and ringtv.com. As always, I remind you guys, make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you click that notification bell so you never miss a live video. But if you can't make it Monday evening, it's all good. Audio podcast is available on podcast platforms around the world. Just look up The Neutral Corner, Michael Montero, Montero Unboxing. You will find me there. And the same thing, man. Subscribe, give us reviews, give us ratings. Right now, while you're watching, click that little button that's shaped like a thumbs up. Click on that. All right, hit that. And as always, another reminder: we charge a fee on this show, but it is non-monetary. The fee is this: if you get entertainment out of the show and you enjoy yourself, you know what? Spread the word, man. Share it on your social media. Let your sports fan friends, your boxing fan friends know about the show, because we don't do ads here. Believe me, I get offers. I could do ads, but we don't, because I don't want to bombard you with a bunch of bullshit right at the beginning of the show, like 99% of the other podcasts out there. All right. Want to get right to it, man. So that's why I give my little spiel up at the front of the show. But so there is a fee. It's not monetary, so make sure that you pay the fee, all right? Spread word about the show. Now, we've been having issues with the phones, but I tested them yesterday. We did a couple test runs, and we got that sorted out. So the phones should work today. If they don't, then I am going to just flip out. Now, before I get started, let me show you this dope gear right here. You can't see it too well, but Roots of Fight just released their Crunk series. Awesome stuff, man. They sent me a little care package. I wanted to share this with you guys. Check out Roots of Fight's website. They got a whole new Crunk series. That yellow Pain and Fame Detroit tee, that's what I'm rocking right now. I got the XL. I'm 6'4", so I'm tall, but I'm fairly slender. You know, I'm athletic build, if you will, but slender. I'm not that big of a guy. So the XL is just fine for me. If you're a little shorter, then a large should work. But I think they're going to have more stuff than what's available right now. But this stuff that they released here, just to start off with, is pretty dope. So make sure you check them out. Roots of Fight. Just wanted to give those guys a shout out. Also, I think I've shown you guys this before, but the Real Crunk Gym store. All right. There's a bunch of fake links out there in different countries, including the UK, that's selling Crunk stuff that is not official Crunk gear. Okay. I just want to put this out there so everyone's aware. The Real Crunk Gym store. This is where you can go to buy gear, Crunk gear, from actual Crunk. And a portion of the proceeds, the profits here, go to, of course, you got to pay for the gear and everything like that, and the cost associated with that. But a portion of the proceeds, the profits, go to ESCOT, which is Emmanuel Stewart's youth development program that they're keeping going. And there's all kinds of gear on here that you guys could check out, okay? So I wanted to give both of those guys a shout out. I'm just really proud to be associated with the Crunk brand and to be a part of the team, man. It's really awesome. We're going to have some guys from the Crunk team on the show eventually, like I've been telling you guys. Just want to give a shout out to Roots of Fight in their new Crunk series and the Real Crunk Gym store that's out there. Also want to give another quick shout out to the guys at Title Boxing, particularly Doug at Title Boxing, for sending me some stuff to rock in my next fight coming up next Friday, May 13th here in Atlanta. They sent me some trunks, a robe, some new sneaks. Everything looks great, ready to go, man. So we're doing some last-minute preparations for that. I had to get all those shout-outs out there. No advertisements. Those are just shout-outs to good people doing good things that are involved heavily in the boxing world that I respect the hell out of. And you guys know me. I'm not going to sit here and promote somebody's brand, somebody's swag, somebody's merch here on my show if I don't rock it. I'm sitting here rocking the Roots of Fight gear. I rock with Title. I got a lot of Title gear. And of course, Crunk. I'm associated with Crunk. You guys read the awesome piece that I wrote in Crunk. In Ring Magazine recently about Crunk. So I'll gladly give a plug to anybody that's doing great work in the boxing world. And I just want to get those shout outs out. Now, much to discuss, right? I hope you guys got some popcorn. I hope you guys are ready to be triggered because I have some rants to go in on. We'll do that. But first, super chat pledge for my man, Chris Bergen. Thank you so much, Chris. He said, I posted a pic of you on Twitter. Did you see? What was it? Now I'm scared, Chris. I've seen a couple of pictures of me on Twitter today from some of my acting stuff, and it was not pretty. Let me see. I'm scrolling in my timeline. I'm scrolling in my feed. I don't see anything. I see a picture of you rocking the MOBT, which is pretty dope. But I do see a picture of me from Army Wives, an episode of Army Wives that I did that somebody posted. Good times. And yes, I was wearing a bowling shirt in that scene on Army Wives, that show from Lifetime. I didn't choose the clothes, guys. They wanted to make me look kind of shabby. And so the wardrobe people found some beat up old jeans, faded jeans, and a bowling shirt to put me in because I was supposed to look kind of ragged in the scene, which wasn't hard. Anyway. Okay. What else do we got here? Oh, hold on. Let me see. I think I found, did I find Jack just forwarded Chris Bergen's tweet? Okay. Yeah, I remember this one. Oh, you know what? I'll share this real quick. Hang on, guys. I'll share this for the people that ain't watching the video. Sorry, you're gonna miss this. Let me see if I find it. Yeah. This is from a pilot that I did. That yes, and that big drink that I'm drinking says huge gulp, and I play a pothead in this pilot. I don't smoke weed. I don't at all, but I played a pothead in this show, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. Yes, that is me sipping on a huge gulp, stoned. But of course, I don't do any of that. I don't drink huge gulps because there's no such thing. But I don't drink sugary drinks, and I don't smoke pot. But for the sake of art, I was doing it there. All right, let's move on. I do not want to get into acting stuff here. There's some embarrassing stuff out there that I do not want to get into. I want to jump right into news and notes. And we've got some upcoming fights to discuss. So let us do that super duper quick. And then we'll get into this review because, I really want to get into Taylor Serrano. And I know you guys do too. All right, so news and notes. The biggest item, and we talked a little bit about this Friday on my channel, but the WBC has ordered negotiations between undisputed 140-pound champion Josh Taylor and mandatory challenger Jose Zepeda. They have until May 24th, so less than a month, to get this thing negotiated. After that, it will go to purse bid. So should Taylor decide to stay at 140, and should he decide he wants to keep that WBC belt, his next fight is going to be against Jose Zepeda. And let me tell you something. That is a fantastic matchup. That'd be perfect for ESPN. They could put that on in Vegas. They could put that on a few different venues. If they want to do it over there in Taylor's backyard, they could do that as well, obviously. But he just fought over there. I think it would make sense to bring him out here, maybe to Vegas. Him and Zepeda, that'd be a fun summer fight on ESPN. Maybe at the MGM or something like that. That'd be a lot of fun, man. That's a fantastic matchup. Also, some upcoming fights. June 10th in Mexico City, Hiroto Kawaguchi, who is the Ring Magazine junior flyweight champion, is going to defend his title against Esteban Bermudez. That's, again, Mexico City. It's on DAZN, and that is notable because it's Matchroom Boxing partnering up with Canelo Promotions, and they have some fights that they're going to do down there in Mexico together. I wanted to mention this not only because it features a Ring Magazine champion and a Japanese fighter against a Mexican fighter, which is always good, but I like what Matchroom's doing globally, man. They're doing events all over the world, guys. We talk about this all the time, right? They're doing shows in Italy, Uzbekistan, Mexico, of course, the United States. They got one coming up, which we'll preview in the show. So I really like the global infrastructure through DAZN that Matchroom has set up and the partnerships. Again, this is a partnership with Canelo Promotions. Obviously, he's working with Canelo this Saturday, May 7th, coming up. Just worked with Jake Paul, right? Eddie Hearn did. So I really like what they're doing over there. I'm telling you, not that I love everything Matchroom does, but this sport is global, more global than ever, and this makes a lot of sense. Also, in San Antonio, later in June 25th, fantastic fight between WBC junior bantamweight title holder Jesse Bam Rodriguez and Srisaket Sor Rungvisai. That will be on DAZN as well. That's a fantastic matchup, man. Love that matchup. So we got a few. There's a couple others I could mention, but we'll get into them, in other weeks. But this schedule is, look, these are for diehard fight fans. These matchups, right? These are for the casual fan. But we're going to have a good summer too. I'm telling you, and I think we're going to have a good fall. The 2022 is turning out to be a pretty good year. We need a few other things to kind of fall together, but this is a good year in boxing, man. All right, let me get right into this fight review because that's where we're going to spend most of our time today. Okay. And Saturday, April 30th, there are two big cards of note in the United States. Let's start in New York. Matchroom boxing with most valuable promotions at Madison Square Garden. I think last week during the preview, I said the theater. That was incorrect. This was actually in the Garden, the big bowl. New York City, of course, Manhattan, right in the middle of it. On DAZN, Katie Taylor scores a split decision win over Amanda Serrano. This was the 6th defense of Taylor's undisputed lightweight champion, and a lot of people were calling this the biggest matchup, pound for pound, in women's boxing history. I was saying that going in. It felt like that. I did several interviews about this fight on different platforms, and I got to tell you guys, it not only lived up to the hype, it actually exceeded my expectations. Not just the fight itself, but the event. I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away. And a lot of the things I'm going to say here are probably going to piss some people off. But some of you guys need to hear it. You just do, okay? Before I get into the specifics of the main event, let's talk real quick about some of the undercard action. In a co-main, Liam Smith scored a good TKO 10 win over Jesse Vargas, remains a solid fringe contender at the junior middleweight division. Vargas hadn't fought in over 2 years. He's been dominated in his last 2 fights. It was Mikey Garcia, I think, in 2020, and now this fight in 2022. He's basically semi-retired, very experienced and everything, but he ran for office and he's doing all this other stuff. So I don't know if he really wants to continue fighting on. I'm sure he'd like to get a W. He'd like to go out with a win. He's not going to get it against a Mikey Garcia or a Liam Smith at this point. He's just not going to get it against that level of opponent. He's going to have to go down a little bit to get that W. As for Liam Smith, he's going to be in there against another top guy at some point. 154, it's consolidated at the top. It's Charlo and Castaño, but eventually those titles will break up and there's going to be eliminators and all this kind of stuff. And there's some young guys coming up that might want to test themselves. And Smith is going to be right in the mix of all that. Also in the co-main, I guess that's how I should say it. Franchon Cruz DAZN scores a unanimous decision win over Eileen Cederos from Sweden, her first pro loss. And Cruz DAZN wins the undisputed super middleweight championship. So you can't help but feel good for this woman. I mean, she lost her pro debut against Claressa Shields. Later on, she fought Alejandra Jimenez, who is a steroid user, a cheater, and had to deal with all that drama. And keeps on chugging away, keeps on working, and works her way into this situation now where she's consolidated all the belts at 168. And Claressa Shields, who was in attendance there at MSG Saturday night, was doing some color commentary. They've talked about the possibility of doing a rematch down the road. Why not? I mean, Shields, there's not a lot of opponents at that weight. I've talked about that a lot on the show. Hey, at this point, Claressa's got some unfinished business with Savannah Marshall and everything, but perhaps Cruz DAZN could get another big fight against the Shields or somebody else down the line. So good for her. All right, back to the main event. So Taylor improves to 21-0 with the split decision win over Amanda Serrano. The official scores: Guido Cavalieri scored at 96-93, Glenn Feldman 97-93. So to be clear, both of those are 7-3 for Taylor. Okay. Guido Cavalieri scored at 96-93 because he scored one, I think the 5th round, 10-8. So both Feldman and Cavalieri scored at 7-3 Taylor. And then the Canadian judge, Benoit Rossel, scored it 96-94 for Serrano, 6 rounds to 4. Now, for my money, 7 rounds to 3, either way, is too wide. Okay. So I did not agree with 2 of the judges' scorecards in regards to the rounds, how they scored the rounds. I think you can make a case for 7-3 Taylor all the way to 6-4 Serrano, depending on how you score the swing rounds. If you go all for Serrano's favor, she wins 6-4. If you go all for Taylor's favor, it's 7-3 Taylor. But I don't like going in one direction with swing rounds. I like splitting them up. And if you split them up, you either get a 5-5 draw or a 6-4 win for Taylor. That's the way I saw it. I saw Taylor edging this fight. Watching it live, I scored it 96-94. I think I gave her the first 3 rounds and the last 3 rounds, watching it live. Watching it again, I scored it same score, but I switched a few rounds. I think I gave, once again, scored it for, actually, I think I gave maybe Serrano the second round, and then I gave Taylor 1, 3, and 4, and then 7, 8, 9, and I gave Serrano 10. I just flipped it around, but I ended up with 6 rounds to 4 for Taylor. So she edged this fight out, guys. And so I'm going to explain why and how I got to that. Of course, I'm going to break all this down. But before I go any further into the fight itself, I want to make this very, very clear. Okay. You guys know that I don't do the virtue signal thing. I don't do the politically correct thing. I certainly don't kiss ass to get favors. If anything, I go hardcore in the other direction on that one. I understand that there's a lot of people who are annoyed with the pay-to-play thing going on in the boxing media, and it's all forms of media and entertainment. It's not just boxing, right? So it's the entire entertainment industry works like this now, particularly in the age of social media and streaming and all this stuff. But sticking to boxing. There are a lot of people that will just kind of rock with the new thing, right? And they'll go hardcore. And I'm not that guy. But we live in this divided world right now. I guess everything always has to become divided along 2 sides, right? But I'm getting it from both sides. I've gotten some shit from both sides of this, because if I say something positive about women's boxing, and hold up women's fighters, any woman's fighter, any female fighter in high regard or anything like that, then I'm just a soy boy cuck, and I'm just kissing ass to get ahead in the world, to try to get a gig, then I'm that guy, right? If I don't love every single female fight and I tell the truth about the massive gap between the talent in men's boxing and the talent in women's boxing, then I'm a misogynist pig, and a caveman knuckle-dragging misogynist. Actually, I'm neither of those things. I'm just a boxing fan telling it the way I see it. As it relates to this particular event, okay, I don't give a shit what any of you have to say. Taylor Serrano was a better fight than Stevenson Valdez. Yeah, I'm saying it. Matchroom and Most Valuable Promotions put on a better promotion, top to bottom, a better event and a better card with a better main event than Top Rank did in Las Vegas. That is not me bashing Top Rank. That is me giving credit to Matchroom and Most Valuable Promotions because they deserve it. Both, yeah, I'm saying it. Jake Paul and Eddie Hearn, along with Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor and everybody involved in this promotion, they knocked it out of the fucking park. And I don't know how anybody out there could deny it. So there are a handful of people out there that still have this old attitude of, I don't want to watch girls fight. Girls can't fight. Okay, dude. Let me tell you something. If you're one of those guys, now listen, I'm not saying that the women are on the same level as the men, because they're not, but some of the women are elite level fighters. Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano are elite level fighters. Take the gender shit out of it, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't care what side of the fence you're on, whatever your fucking agenda is, stop it with the gender shit. They're just two people, two human beings who are fantastic martial artists in the sport of boxing. That's it. You don't need to add anything else to that. That's the truth. The crowd at MSG, which was sold out, and everyone's like, oh, it's history. Oh, it's women fighting. It's history. Shut the fuck up. It's two elite level fighters in their physical prime putting on a fantastic event. You don't need anything else. There was a sold out crowd there, and it was feverish and loud and passionate. And it's not to diminish the 10,000. It was slightly over 10,000 that showed up in Las Vegas for Stevenson Valdez. And if we're being honest, 80% of them are there for Valdez. But I'll get to that later. But that crowd was great. I'm not putting it down, okay? But this was different. What we saw in New York was different. Madison Square Garden, in my opinion, has lost a little luster over the last 10 or so years. It's not what it once was. Some of the old heads are like, oh, it's the most famous venue in the world. No, it's not, numbnuts. Join the 21st century. It's not. And it's not the premier attraction for boxing anymore. It hasn't been in decades. However, on this night, it was. And there's some people out there saying, well, the crowd was just a bunch of virtue signaling people with a political agenda. That's the only reason they were there. If it was two men headlining, they wouldn't have went. I don't know, guys. I've been to a lot of events, a lot of functions, and I could tell when a venue is papered. Trust me, I've been to plenty of fights that were papered. It's dudes looking down at their phone, right? They're just sitting there playing with their phone. It's dudes trying to get a selfie. Hey, look at me, I'm at the fight. Huh, hashtag. It's all that shit, right? That's not what I saw at MSG this weekend. I saw a bunch of Puerto Rican flags. I saw a bunch of Irish flags. I heard people singing songs, drinking, singing, having a great time. The crowd was loud as hell through the entire thing. It was awesome. Just give people credit. And I got to say, I was trying to think of an analogy to compare and contrast the two events we saw this Saturday, April 30th, okay? I look at what Top Rank does as very dependable, very professional. I have a ton of respect for Top Rank. They've been in this business for forever, and they know what they're doing. I look at Top Rank as me listening to like a favorite album I have, right? From a favorite artist, listening to their greatest hits. And I know what to expect. I've heard this album before. I know what I'm going to get. It's enjoyable. It's always a good time. It's always a good listen, right? But what we saw at MSG was a brand new album that we haven't heard before from an artist. It was brand new shit. And usually when brand new shit comes out, you're like, oh, this is going to suck. New music today, it's all trash. But you hear the new album and you're like, yo, I like this. This is great. This is like a whole new thing. Okay. I like what I'm hearing. That's what it was like. It was like hearing a new album and not being totally disappointed, which I am most of the time. Hearing a new album and I was actually like blown away. I was like, this is good shit. I'm putting this in my rotation. I'm gonna cop this and put this on my playlist to work out to this from now on. That's what it was. Of all the traditional power broker promoters in the sport right now, your Bob Arams, your Al Haymans, your Eddie Hearns, those guys, right? Eddie Hearn is the best in the world right now, in my opinion, at putting on an event. Okay? You might not always get the best fight. There might be the undercard. You might not always be the best undercard. I'm talking about events. If you look at some of the biggest events in boxing in the last several years, let's go 5 years, okay? Let's go 10. Eddie Hearn's done a lot of them. Even recently in America, Canelo Saunders, to me, that wasn't the best fight because Saunders wasn't, I just never rated Saunders that highly, but that was an event because look how many people were there, right? AJ Ruiz, the first one and the second one were both events. I could keep going here. And he was associated with this fight, which was an event. It truly, truly was. And Jake Paul, I have to give it to him. I don't like a lot of things he does. He's starting to win me over, though, with certain things. He brings something new and different and dynamic to this. And it worked. When boxing gets it right, nothing is better. And so for some of you guys out there that are saying girls can't fight, I'm never watching girls fight, do me a favor. At some point this week, when you got some downtime, you got about 30 minutes of free time, open up your DAZN app and watch Taylor Serrano. Watch it with an open mind. And after that, tell me that that wasn't a fantastic fight. It was. Now, was it fight of the year? No. Will it be in the top 10? Yeah. By the end of the year, I think it'll be in the top 10. But was it fight of the year? No, it just wasn't. It wasn't. Was it fought on the skill level that we saw Shakur Stevenson display? No. They're not on that level. Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, not quite on that level. However, they're pretty damn good, and they put on an amazing fight. Let's get to it. Let's actually review what happened. Okay. Here's something that I think, because there's a lot of you out there coming into this fight, I swear 3/4 of my timeline was picking Serrano, and half of you out there are picking Serrano by stoppage, right? And you guys were so fucking pissed when Serrano didn't get the stoppage in the 5th round. And so all I've heard, 3-minute rounds. That's all I've heard. There weren't 3-minute rounds in this fight, guys. There were 2-minute rounds. I'll talk more about that later. But the bottom line is Taylor won this fight with her footwork and her movement. Serrano did some outstanding work, upstairs, downstairs. But you know what? It was pretty one-dimensional. I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. I'm saying because in the rematch, she could change that and work on some things. What Serrano did was come forward and throw punches upstairs and downstairs. That was it. She didn't fight very well moving backwards. She did not fight at all moving side to side. When Katie Taylor used lateral movement, she clearly won the rounds. They were close. They were close because Serrano got in some good shots and because Katie Taylor made some fundamental flaws here and there. It's boxing. You're going to get hit. And since one person's moving backwards, one person's moving forward and the other's moving backwards or side to side, the body language when those two land punches is Serrano, when she's coming forward, when Taylor would hit her with a nice 2-piece, she'd stop in her tracks, but it wouldn't back her up. But when Serrano landed, it either pushed Taylor back or to the side because she was already moving backwards or to the side. Right? So the body language, okay, that does come into play. But the biggest mistake Taylor made in this fight was in the 5th round when she stood in front of Serrano and traded with her. And then she backed into a corner and stood there and tried to trade with her. It was about the dumbest fucking thing she could have did. What amazed me is that Chris Mannix on DAZN, and I got nothing against Chris, okay? Really don't. He's getting beat up a lot this week. I don't want to pile on. But I remember during that sequence, Chris was saying, this is how Katie Taylor should be fighting. By the way, he scored the first, I think, 4 rounds for Amanda Serrano, which is insane. But in the 5th round, when Taylor, who had been winning the fight pretty clearly at that point, close, competitive, but clearly on my card, stood in front of Serrano, and Chris Mannix is like, yeah, this is what she needs to do. Stand in front of her and trade with her. I'm like, what? Are you out of your fucking mind? As soon as Taylor started doing that, she got clipped and almost got stopped. Once Taylor got back to boxing by really the 6th round, but especially into the 7th round. The 6th round was close, by the way. That was a competitive round. The only clear, really decisive round for Serrano was the 5th. That's it. Maybe upon second viewing of the 10th, I gave the 10th to Serrano. Anyway, 7th, 8th, 9th, Taylor had started moving again and using lateral movement, and the DAZN commentary crew, they were like, Serrano's letting her off the hook. Serrano, why is she stopping? Guys, Serrano is a very aggressive, very physical fighter. She wasn't letting Taylor off the hook. She couldn't catch her. It's because Taylor was boxing her ass off and moving side to side, using lateral movement and landing combinations. Now, they weren't as impressive, maybe. They weren't as awe-inspiring, maybe. But I will also say this. Amanda Serrano has a wonderful poker face. Hides what she's feeling, right? But I've watched a lot of Amanda's fights. I know her in terms of how she fights and how she looks. She was clearly gassed in the second half of that fight and clearly busted up a little bit and a little bit discouraged at times. Now, she hid that very well, so well that none of the commentators, but I think Todd Grisham did a good job, but some of the rest of the commentators, they just kept missing things, especially Chris Mannix. Katie Taylor has a terrible poker face. If she's hurt, you know it. Her mouth is open, her eyes get real big, and she gets a little squirrely. So she doesn't have a very good poker face. And sometimes people can get fooled by looking at the two fighters' faces. Oh, this person looks confident. That person looks a little squirrely. Okay, I'm going to score around to that confident person. Well, who landed the punches? Who controlled most of the action? If it's a bull matador situation, who got the best of it? The bull or the matador? And if you look at punch numbers, which I'll get to right here, total punch numbers. This is very interesting because Jake Paul, and he's being a good promoter here, okay, but he's not an idiot. He knows what he's doing. He knows he's being manipulative. He's talking about the punch numbers. Amanda Serrano landed 173. Katie Taylor landed 147. Now that's the total fight. What he doesn't mention is that Taylor landed 39% of all of her punches, nearly 40% to 28% for Serrano, which is still pretty good. But most of that work, not most of it, but a huge chunk of it was done in the fifth round. If you remove the fifth round, since everyone loves living in the metaphysical and talking, well, if it was 3-round fights or 3-minute rounds, if we're going to stay in the metaphysical, let's just remove the fifth round. If you look at the other 9 rounds, well, guess what? Taylor landed 133 punches at 40% connect percentage. Serrano landed 129 at 25% connect percentage. So I think I talked about this a little bit on Twitter. 6 of the 10 rounds, or it might have been 7 of the 10 rounds, the total punch numbers were with both women were in a punch or 2 of each other in terms of punches landed per round. So there were a lot of close rounds. But what stood out big time was that Taylor was more accurate. Katie Taylor was more accurate in 9 of the 10 rounds. The only round where Serrano was more accurate was the 5th round. So if you look at who was doing the more accurate punching, and there was a lot of times where Taylor was more accurate by 15, 20 points, okay, percentage points higher, several rounds. If you look at who was doing the more accurate punching and the more consistent punching in terms of punches landed through all 2 minutes of a round, rather than an offensive burst here and there, that was Taylor. Now, it was close because Serrano was keeping it very, very close by going upstairs, downstairs. Taylor made a huge flaw by not going to the body at all. She should have went to the body. She did a few times, but not enough. It was close, very close. And this was another thing that I saw a lot of casuals commenting on. Well, look at their faces after the fight. By the way, Serrano's face looked pretty busted up by the end of the fight too. In some of the interviews, it looked like her face was almost worse than Taylor's. But you don't score fights based upon who had the most dramatic moment, who had the biggest, most impressive moment, sequence in the fight. You don't score by who had the body language win, who won the body language battle. You don't score by how each person's face looked or who bled more. You score fights based upon round by round. In this particular instance, there were 10 2-minute rounds. You score each one as there were 10 2-minute fights. Look at it that way, okay? Each round is a 2-minute fight. You score it with no preconceived expectations. You score it with zero memory of what happened before, of what preceded it. And if you did that the right way, you can absolutely make a case, and a strong, strong case, that Taylor edged this fight. So people out there crying robbery, this, that, the other, you're nuts. There are things that Serrano can improve on in the rematch. There are things that Taylor can improve on in the rematch. Should they do it again, which I think they should, I strongly feel that both ladies could even bring more. This could be the female version of Canelo Golovkin, all right? Except this decision was not controversial. There was no Adelaide Bird here. I didn't like the 7-3 scores, but if either fighter was going to get 7 rounds, it was Taylor, in my humble opinion. That being said, I don't think you could give either woman more than 6 rounds. That's just my opinion. Okay, let's talk real quick about Katie Taylor's resume. Right now, she is the only female boxer with more than 1 win against a pound-for-pound level female boxer. So what do I mean by that? She has wins over 3 pound-for-pound fighters right now. Serrano, McCaskill, and Pursoon, right? The only other, there's a 1 or 2 of women on the list that have a win over a pound-for-pound fighter. I think McCaskill has a win over Breckhus, right? For instance, but it's only 1. Taylor has wins over 3. Now, if you feel she lost the first fight to Pursoon, that's fine. A lot of people do. I thought that decision was way more controversial than this one. But she clearly beat Pursoon in the rematch, okay? So she has wins over 3 Ring Magazine rated top 10 pound-for-pound women boxers. Nobody else can claim more than 1 win, okay, in such a category. So she has 6 defenses of the undisputed lightweight championship and 3 wins over pound-for-pound fighters as a pro, and she did all this in 21 fights. In the amateurs, she had 5 world championships, 5 golds at the AIBA World Championships. She was in 2 Olympics and won 1 gold in one of the Olympics. I can't remember. I think it was 2012, maybe 2016. I can't remember. But that resume, you can make an argument. I'm not going to go there yet because she's an active fighter, but you can argue already that she is the greatest women's boxer ever. And I know that drives some people crazy. But the same people telling you that Tyson Fury is the greatest heavyweight ever for having 2 title defenses are ignoring everything I just said about Katie Taylor. I don't know what it is about this woman that bothers some people so bad. Anyway, in terms of women's boxing, since, again, to me, take the gender out of it, but if we're going to have this discussion, because men's boxing and women's boxing is 2 different sports, but this was a huge, huge, huge plus for women's boxing, right? Now, if we get a rematch between these 2, on top of a fight between Claressa Shields and Savannah Marshall, on top of a fight between Michaela Mayer and Alicia Baumgartner, well, guess what? Women's boxing will continue to thrive. Those fights need to happen over the next year. All of them. A rematch between Taylor Serrano plus Shields versus Marshall plus Mayer versus Baumgartner. Those 3 fights happen over the next 12 months. Women's boxing going to be red hot. Now, let's really quickly talk about 3-minute rounds. I talked a little bit about properly scoring fights. Oh, also, when and where should the rematch happen? Real quick, before I get into 3-minute rounds. I saw some people saying, oh, man, why not just go right back to the Garden? Why not go right back to the Garden? I understand why a lot of American fight fans are saying that. But if I'm Katie Taylor and I'm Eddie Hearn, I'd want to put the rematch on in Ireland, or maybe in London at a big venue in London or somewhere in the UK, Manchester, wherever. I'd want to put it on the rematch over there. Guys, the champion, people are forgetting this now. Katie Taylor was the champion. She made the concessions to get this fight done. It wasn't Serrano making the concessions here. All right. Serrano had to move up in weight, although she has fought at 140 before. Suddenly the weight thing has become an issue now with Serrano fans too. But she had to move up. But Taylor came over to the United States for this fight. She didn't have to do that. She made the concession. She won the fight. Now they want to do the rematch over in Ireland or somewhere in the UK. I'm good with that. And I think that it's their right. They've earned that right. So for people saying, no, they should bring it right back to the Garden, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Or bring it to Vegas. Why? If you could do a bigger crowd over there and keep a lot of the money and everything in-house over there, why wouldn't you do that? I just don't understand. Taylor won the fight. She's earned the right to do that. Now, the debate about 3-minute rounds. I am 100% for 3-minute rounds for women. I get it. Although I got to say, it is pretty cool that in a 10-round fight that are 2 minutes, that's 20 minutes of fighting. The women's fights like this, man, they go quick. They go real quick. So there is a benefit to that. But if we're going to go to 3-minute rounds, it needs to start from the ground up, guys, not from the top down. What do I mean by that? I mean, start it at make a declaration or whatever, and say that, you know, January 1st, 2023, all women's fights, 3 minutes. Give the women time to prepare, and start with 4-rounders for the prospects coming out. But to ask, you know, somebody who's fought 15 years, 2-minute rounds, to suddenly switch to 3-minute rounds because it appeases you and your boxing Twitter buddies, I think that's a little unfair. I want to see 3-minute rounds. I want to see the girls do exactly what the guys are doing. That's what I want to see. Okay. Especially if people are going to bitch about equal pay and all this stuff. And most of those arguments are ridiculous. If you look at the dollars, the revenue that's brought in, it's night and day. But in terms of earning it and putting up the same amount of work, I'm good with 12 3-minute rounds. I am. I'm also good. I got to say, I was totally fine in this fight with 10 2-minute rounds. It didn't take anything out of it for me. But to ask championship level fighters that have been doing this for years and years and years, 10 2-minute rounds, to suddenly switch to 3 minutes, I think that's, I don't know. I don't know if that's the best way to do it. I think the best way to do it is for these younger fighters coming in. They get started right away with their 4-rounders, 6-rounders. They work their way up, 3-minute rounds, right? And you work your way up that way so that they can get acclimated to that and build a career with 3-minute rounds. If you switch it 10 years into a fighter's career, I think that's a little unfair. Anyway, that's the way I tend to see that. I know some of you will disagree with me, but ain't the first time. All right. I know I missed some super chats, so let me get to these super duper quick. There we go. Sam with the super chat. Thank you so much, Sam. He says, Katie reminds me of Tim Bradley. Always keep throwing hands, even when hurt, and judges give her the close rounds. Interesting comparison, Sam. I don't know if I compare her to Tim Bradley, the way she boxes, but yeah, there's a little bit of Tim Bradley in her. You know, basically, remember Tim Bradley against Ruslan Provodnikov? We saw a little bit of that from Katie in this fight. So yeah, actually, that's an interesting comparison, man. Very interesting. Anthony Santiago with the super chat. Thank you, brother. He says there were 5 swing rounds, 2 clear Serrano rounds, 3 clear Taylor rounds. That's 1 more clear round was the difference. This felt like a huge fight. I even had the big fight nerves before it started. Anthony, outstanding freaking comment. I completely agree. And I got to say, I felt the big fight vibes too. When I heard that crowd, the coolest moment to me is when the fighters were introduced and they came to the center of the ring to touch gloves. You could hear in the mic, Amanda kind of looked at Katie and goes, dude, this is awesome. I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was something like that. Like she was grinning ear to ear and just like, yo, this is amazing. Because the crowd was going nuts. You could see that Amanda was soaking in this moment because unlike Katie, who has kind of had some of the bright lights over there in her part of the world and fought in front of big crowds, nothing like this, but still, you know, Amanda's kind of had to come up the hard way, you know, fighting buried way, way deep in undercards in front of small crowds, club shows and stuff. So it was really, really cool to see Amanda Serrano soaking in that moment because she had earned that. She had toiled in relative obscurity for so long. And to see her soaking that in a little bit was a very, very cool moment. I know both women did, but especially Serrano. Very, very cool. Mark Ashley with the super chat. Thank you so much, Mark. He said, I had a 6'4". Serrano was great, but Taylor only really started to fail when she abandoned her game plan. Completely agree. Once she got back on it, she scored again. Completely agree. Completely agree. And again, that's something that the commentator, I don't want to beat up on the commentators because I like all of them. Todd is a great guy. I love Todd, friend of the show. Jessica McCaskill, love her. And Rick Ramos, her man, trainer. They're friends of the show as well. Awesome. They just, you know, I actually thought Todd did a good job of steering them, particularly steering Chris Mannix back into reality. Todd was the best on that night by far of everybody. But I was really surprised that, Jessica did a pretty good job, but Chris, he's there to be the analyst, right? The numbers guy and the analyst, the Max Kellerman, think of old HBO championship boxing, right? The Al Bernstein equivalent over on Showtime. And dude, it just wasn't there. And he kept missing things. I swear, Katie Taylor in the first 3, even 4 rounds, because that 4th round was really close. Taylor might have took that. She was landing right hands, and nobody noticed it. She landed a couple hard right hands that stopped Serrano right in her tracks, and nobody noticed it. And I'm just like, and it was actually Todd Grisham in some of the later rounds that was like, Katie Taylor's winning these rounds. And then Chris was like, oh, no, you're right. She is. So thank you, Todd, for like steering them back, because they were just kind of all over the place. Super chat from John Uden. Thank you so much, John. He says that atmosphere Saturday reflects how Katie and Amanda have endeared themselves to their fans. Doubtful any other current women's fighters, even Shields and Marshall, can do that. 100% correct. And let me add on top of that, I think Katie and Amanda have endeared themselves to their fans more than 90% of male fighters. Let's be honest. Can Shakur Stevenson or Devin Haney put on a crowd that Katie and Amanda just did? I don't think so. Don't think so. Very few men can do that. There's a handful. There's Gervonta Davis can. There's a handful of them, but not many, for being honest. Chris Bergen went to Super Chat. Thanks, Chris. He said, when will you get some UK fighters on the show? That's you know what? No one's ever asked me that. I need to do that. And we absolutely could. The only thing is, it's just really late. And a lot of fighters, they're either training at this hour over where you're at, or they're sleeping at this hour. But I would love to do that. That would be freaking awesome. I've talked to UK fighters, New Zealand fighters on my channel, but it was recorded so that I can record, for a convenient time for them. But if we can make that happen, dude, we will, because I'd love to do that. Taurine Falk with the Super Chat. Thank you, Taurine. He said, is Mannix a basketball guy, boxing guy, or both? Great question. So he started, I believe, through basketball and really built up a profile, I think through Sports Illustrated, through basketball, but he is a boxing guy. He enjoys boxing. I know he loves boxing, but he just misses some things. There's some things that he does really well. And there's every now and then Chris has some insights, into something where I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't think of it that way. And it's interesting, but he just misses a lot of times with some of the, well, my favorite word, nuance. There's just little things he misses that I think if you're going to have an analyst on the show, whatever broadcast you're doing, they should have at least fought some amateurs like me. A few amateur fights, like a guy like me. They don't have to have been a pro. But the fact that I've fought a few amateur fights and I've been in there, I understand I'm seeing certain things that a guy who's never ever boxed just isn't going to see. I'm not one of these guys that thinks, oh, you have to have been a boxer to be a commentator. I really don't believe that. Some of the best commentators ever never laced up gloves. Jim Lampley, for example, right? Never boxed. So I don't think you need to have boxed to be a great commentator or writer. But like, if you're like the analyst dude that's supposed to be there breaking down the action, not doing blow by blow. I'm talking about breaking down some of the science and craft that's going on and translating that for the casual observer watching on TV. I think that person should have at least a little bit of experience, man. That's just my personal opinion. All right, we got one more to review. Where everyone's been talking about New York, right? But over in Las Vegas, there was a very, very important fight, and it did get overshadowed a little bit, and I don't want to diminish what took place. Top Rank put on the card at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, and they did over 10,000 in attendance there, mostly to see Oscar Valdez. It was a pro Valdez crowd, but that was a good show from Top Rank. Wasn't the strongest card, wasn't a very good undercard, but a very good main event where we got a true unification of the top two fighters in the division, which you don't get, particularly with young guys who have undefeated records. Shakur Stevenson improved to 18-0 with a unanimous decision win over Oscar Valdez, who suffered his first pro loss. Stevenson is now the Ring Magazine WBC WBO Junior Lightweight Champion, and he is head and shoulders above anybody in that division. It's not even close. We were arguing this on the Ring Ratings Committee. Even up to today, we're still arguing it. We still don't know where we're going to rate everybody. Where does Oscar Valdez rate for you guys right now in this division? Forget about the drug thing for a second, because I know that's there, and I get it. Take that aside for a second. I'm just talking about in terms of accomplishments, in terms of where you rate him head-to-head, all that good stuff. Shakur Stevenson's the champion. We know that. But everybody else, you've got Valdez, you've got Jamel Herring, you've got a few other fighters there. Where do you rate them? To me, there's not much distinction between Valdez and Herring and a few of the other top guys. Consecao, right? They're all kind of right there, but I don't know how to rate them. I honestly don't. I just know that Shakur Stevenson is a full level above all of them. All of them. And he proved that in this fight. Dropped Valdez in the 6th round. It was a flash knockdown. Valdez was off balance. There was a little bit of a push, but a punch landed, legit knockdown. But it's not like he hurt Valdez. Now, during my preview last week, I said, hey, Stevenson might be able to score a late stoppage here where the ring doctor comes in, there's a cut or something, or the ref stops it. Never got close to that. Valdez took some hard shots, but Stevenson just never really hurt him that badly to where it needed to be stopped at all. So Valdez took him the distance, but didn't win more than, 2-3 rounds, if we're being honest. One thing that stood out to me was the massive size difference. Stevenson looked like a welterweight. He really did. I don't know how this kid makes 130, but he has really grown into his body and matured. He's really started to hit his physical prime as a man now. He's hitting that man strength now, and you see it. He bullied Valdez all around this ring, man. Outlanded Valdez in 11 of the 12 rounds. I think it was only the 3rd round, which was a big round for Valdez, where he outlanded Stevenson. But Stevenson made adjustments when he needed to and controlled this fight. By the way, adjustments. I forgot to mention that in New York. Let me ask you guys out there that are just, you cannot go against the notion that Amanda Taylor won the fight. I keep saying Amanda Taylor. Jesus, I'm all over the place today. Amanda Serrano. Who made adjustments in that fight in New York? Was it Amanda Serrano or Katie Taylor? There's only one right answer, and it's Katie Taylor. That's who made adjustments in that fight. Serrano did the same thing in the 10th round that she did in the 1st round. She never changed. Taylor made adjustments throughout that fight. If you don't believe me, watch it again. Back to Las Vegas. So Stevenson, the clear number 1 fighter at 130, and now the legitimate champion at 130. Also on the undercard, I think a future multi-division champion, Keyshawn Davis, was featured. Looked great. And Nico Walsh, both those guys scored stoppage wins. All right. Let me get a quick drink of water. Doing a lot of talking. All right. Oh, man, what a loaded review. Okay. Real quick, let's do this preview, and then I will get to some calls. We have a ton of people on the line, so I'll try to get through this quick. Saturday, May 7th, Matchroom Boxing is back. There's that Matchroom Boxing again. T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, DAZN pay-per-view. Boo. I don't have a boo thing here on my soundboard. I need a boo button. I hate that this is pay-per-view. I hate it. Canelo Alvarez versus Dmitry Bivol, who comes in 19-0 with 11 knockouts. Of course, this is for Bivol's WBA light heavyweight title. Here's the thing about Bivol. He had a great run there in 2018, 2019 against Sullivan Barrera, Isaac Chilemba, Jean Pascal, and Joe Smith Jr. Great run. Won all 4 of those fights pretty clearly. He took one big shot from Smith in their fight, but pretty much dominated those fights, right? 2020, 2021, his opposition's been lackluster. Nothing that's going to prepare him for Canelo Alvarez. Nothing. And I think that's really going to hurt him in this fight. I do think Bivol has the size, the strength, maybe not the experience, He definitely doesn't have the experience at this level. These lights are going to be very, very bright. But he has the size and the skills, the athleticism to go the distance. I see a distance fight here. But I just think Canelo's going to win by decision. And I could talk about Canelo, Vegas. It's really hard to win a decision against him and all that good. I'm not even going to go there, okay? Just in terms of X's and O's, Bivol does one thing and he does it very, very, very well. But it's one thing. Kind of like Serrano. Canelo can do several different things, and he can do them very well. Kind of like Taylor. It's just how I see this fight playing out. Even more so, the level between these two. I like Canelo in this fight, maybe 116, 112, maybe even 117, 111. It's not that I don't think Bivol has a chance, because I do. It's just that if you want to talk to me about this in 2020, following Bivol's run of the 4 fighters I mentioned, that's when I really thought Bivol could win this fight. But now, Canelo has settled into his weight. He's been fighting guys. Look, Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant, Callum Smith, they're not world beaters. They're not Hall of Fame level guys, but they're better than the guys Bivol's been fighting. Let's be honest. Callum Smith fought Lennon Castillo. I think that's who Bivol fought in Chicago a couple years ago, right? And he flattened him. So I actually think Canelo's recent opposition, although I don't think very highly of it, it's clearly a step above Bivol's recent opposition. Momentum matters in this game, guys. Momentum matters. So I like Canelo by a fairly wide decision here. Also on this card, this is an underrated card. Look, Filip Hrgović versus Zhilei Zhang, heavyweights, 12 rounds. That's a fun heavyweight matchup. Now, I don't think a whole lot of Zhang. I do think a lot more of Hrgović, but these are 2 undefeated, big, strong heavyweights. So I think that's going to be a fun fight. And I want to see it. Also, prospects, Montana Love, a really good looking prospect at 140 pounds. I've seen him fight up close. The kid's got something. Shakram Giasov, a welterweight prospect who's really, really good looking. I don't mean attractive wise. I mean, looks good as a prospect. And Joselito Velasquez, flyweight, really good looking prospect. So there's some nice prospects on this card. The heavyweight co-feature, it's not bad. All that being said, I hate that this is a freaking pay-per-view. Oh, Jack Alter in the chat says Zhang Hrgović was called off. Oh, wow. Wow, I did not know that. Well, let's look this up. I'm going to see if I can find something on this. I'm going to Google it real quick. Yes. Wow. Look at this, guys. Let me share my screen here. Well, you know what? Then I take back a lot of what I just said. This card sucks. This card is shit. Not that this was a huge, huge fight, but I was looking forward to it. Let's see. Filip Hrgović withdrawals from IBF Eliminator with Zhang Zhilei on Canelo Bivol undercard. Why? It just says he's withdrawn. And yeah, the winner of this fight would be the IBF mandatory for the winner of the rematch between Usyk and Joshua, which we knew that. But, wow. All right. Hrgovic's father reportedly died in April, early in April. His father's death is believed to be the reason Hrgović was unable to concentrate on training and ultimately withdrew from his fight with Zhilei. Well, listen, as a guy who's recently gone through a family member's death, I am not going to judge the man for that. If that's the legitimate reason, not going to judge the man for that, because that is serious shit. Serious shit. And you guys know what I've been through recently. It was very hard for me to concentrate on my fight last year, which was, nothing on this level, of course, not to make this about me. I'm just saying I can relate. It was very difficult to concentrate and to fight well and be sharp with my brother's death still on my mind. So, and, my brother had been dead for months and months, nearly a year at that point. If Hrgovic's father literally died just a month ago, that's very, very recent. So I ain't going to judge the man for that one bit. So thank you guys for letting me know that, because I did not see that, man. Did not see that. Okay. Chris says, R.I.P. Anthony. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that, brother. It hasn't even been 2 years. That's what's crazy. It feels like it's been 5 years already. It's been about a year and a half, which is just insane to me. It still bothers me every day. On that note, let's go to the phones. And guys, we have a bunch. So you're going to have to get to it. I want 2-minute rounds, not 3-minute rounds. All right. Get to it quick. Okay. Let's jump up to Waterbury, Connecticut with Anthony Santiago, I think, on the show. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Mike?
And hopefully everyone can hear you. And guys in the chat, please let us know if you can hear Anthony, okay? Hopefully you can.
Hey. You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. I hear you loud and clear, man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'll make it quick and I'll skip like the reviews and all that. Since you already took care of that. I wanted to give my prediction for the Canelo Bivol fight.
Okay.
And it may sound crazy, but I'm going with Jack Alter here. He's been going for Bivol for a while.
Yep.
And I think Bivol's jab is going to trouble Canelo a lot. He doesn't have a soft jab. He has like a piston jab. So I think that's going to be huge. And then I just have questions about, how much better has Canelo really gotten since Triple G2? Because to me, he was kind of losing that Kovalev fight, or it was like really close.
Yeah.
And all Kovalev did the entire fight was just throw a jab. And it was like a sparring match. And it's hard to judge him off the two, like the Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant. So I don't really know how much better Canelo has gotten, and if he's gonna have trouble with Bivol's jab. And then I've been paying attention to Bivol's training, and I saw some of Steve Kim's videos with him, and then some interviews with Joel Diaz. And I think Bivol is really up for this fight.
He is.
And I think this is going to be an extremely tough fight that Canelo might have regretted taking. I think you give the edge to Canelo just because of activity, but I would not. I think Bivol is going to, at least in the eyes of the fans, you know how the judging goes. I think Bivol is going to pull it off.
All right, you're on the record, man. I love a great upset special. If Bivol pulls it off, man, I will give you credit. I'll give Jack Alter credit because you guys have been calling it, so you're on the record.
All right, yeah, and I'll be here Monday. I won't be hiding if he loses.
All right, man. Cool.
All right, well, that was it.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. All right, there he goes. We'll keep it moving. That was great. Right to it, man. Right to it. We'll go right into the next call. I think this is Thad. What's up, Thad? How you doing, man?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Mike. Who was the referee for Stevenson and Valdez?
Oh, God. Kenny Bayless. Ugh. Don't get me started.
Oh, was it? Because I thought it was Richard Steele. Because it seems this guy has gotten so political that you can just predict how the guy's going to call the fight. Now, just so people don't think I'm biased, I had 1/5 of my annual salary on Stevenson in this fight. I thought it was a foregone conclusion. I didn't even have to watch the fight. I watched it a day later. Okay. That's how confident I was. I was still, watching the Taylor fight because I did have a lot of money on Taylor. And I thought that was a fight that could go either way. So my heart was beating out of my chest. Okay. But he is so political, allowing low blows and dirty push-off maneuvers, like glove raking to the face. This guy should never referee another boxing match unless it's like an amateur novice kids match. It's so unprofessional anymore. I just can't believe how people aren't even, talking about him anymore.
No,
it goes beyond ridiculous.
People were beating him up on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and just for the sake of non-redundancy, I want to just give my prediction on the Canelo fight. I think Bivol is going to win the event. Okay, I don't think he's going to win the fight. I think the decision is going to go to Canelo, but I think it's going to be controversial to say the least, and we might get a rematch instead of the Golovkin fight in September, if that's possible. That's my prediction. I predict the Canelo win, but it's going to be very controversial. So buyer beware on that. If you're betting the fight, Canelo is a very valuable between -120 and -180 to win by decision. I think that's such a great bet to make in this fight.
So to be
or you
clear,
could take odds on a draw. Because if Biv,
could you just explain what that means? Just
what's that?
For the novice gamblers out there. So
okay,
yeah.
So if it's -120, if you put $120 up on Canelo by decision, you'll win 100. You'll profit $100. You'll cash your ticket, and you'll get $220 back if you put $100 on him or 120 on him.
Right.
So that's how those odds work. He's a little less than 2-1 favorite to win by decision. Canelo's -450 to win the fight straight up. I don't think he can knock out Bivol. I think Bivol has an extra level toughness to take anything that he throws at him. So with that being said, be very careful if you're betting the fight. There's some valuable props on the fight that I think you can make money on. Not like this weekend. This week, this is what I wanted to call last week, because it was literally the parlay of the year. Stevenson and Taylor by decisions. I can't even tell you. I got amazing returns on that.
How much did you make?
What
did you make last weekend?
I don't want to discuss. It's in the fives, but I'll tell you what, my tax bill was that as well. And basically paying for my taxes for last year. And, the thing is with, Taylor, she was plus 175 to win by decision. And, Stevenson was -200 to win by decision at fight time. And those odds on Stevenson grew to 10-1, -1,000 at the time of the fight. So people that are out there saying that Stevenson did something amazing, no, he won a fight he was supposed to win. It was a showcase fight. Top Rank knew what they were doing. It was a 31-year-old Valdez who is at best a featherweight, and Stevenson, who is technically a welterweight, fighting at 130, kind of like Oscar De La Hoya when he fought Rafael Ruelas in the La Battaglia fight. Everyone thought that was going to be a test and a unification or whatever, and De La Hoya just blew him out completely. That's kind of what this fight was. Top Rank knows what they're doing. They know how to manage fighters and place them in positions where they can really maximize their star fighters' results. So always remember that. You know, if it looks too good to be true, it usually is. And this weekend, it's kind of the same deal with Canelo. They wouldn't have put him in there with Bivol unless they really knew that Bivol really had no shot.
That's what I think.
I think Bivol's going to surprise a lot of people. But he doesn't have that Beterbiev or Joe Smith type power, that concussive power that could change a fight. And I think he can get Canelo's respect. I just don't think he can knock him out. Triple G couldn't knock out Canelo. Nobody's knocking him out.
Yeah. Maybe
Beterbiev, but that's for another day. And the fight between him and Joe Smith is going to be fight of the year. I'm going to try to make that fight. I just hate New York City nowadays. It's just crazy in there anymore, going into the city. So, yeah. So, Mike, I'm going to let you go. Hopefully, you could have a Friday show or
I will.
whatnot. We could really discuss boxing. I want your other callers to call in and talk about what they think coming up. And by the way, Joe Joyce just signed on to fight Parker.
Oh, I love it.
In a month or two.
That's a great fight.
Yeah, I love Joe Joyce in that fight. So
I do too.
Let's put that out there. So have a good one.
Good stuff, brother. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to keep it rolling. We're going to go to the next one. I think we got another Anthony here from San Antonio on the show. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Mike? How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Hey, good breakdown. Let's talk politics here. Let's talk a little politics.
Right.
I agree with what you say with the commentators. The way I see it these days is they got us locked in. They know it. It's for the casuals. They're trying to get the casuals in. So the stuff we roll our eyes at, the casuals are probably like, really, So it is what it is. But it was interesting hearing Taylor's story. How I'm not sure. I don't know the whole story about her having to state that she was a boy when she was in Ireland.
Yeah, it was
to be able to compete.
Illegal for her to box, man. It was illegal.
Yeah, and I think she's gonna have a really cool movie about her one of these days. It's just, I mean, I was really happy to see the different dynamics with, the female boxing. I mean, I always look at the crowd. I watched the fight and I watched the crowd, and it was different. The roles were reversed. I saw the males kind of sitting there clapping, having a good time, and the females up, jumping, dancing, like really into it, on another level. When it's usually the other way around. Usually the men, they're drinking beer, having a good time, rooting for the male fighters, and the females are there clapping. It was funny seeing that. And we also saw you saw these like little old white ladies in the first couple of rows jumping up and down and cheering when these women were going back and forth. And I was just like, man, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just like
it was
Jake
something
Paul,
different, dude. It was like a different feel, like I said earlier.
Yeah, exactly. And boxing needs all the help it can get these days because, unfortunately, we're back into this Mayweather, Pacquiao, tribalistic type stuff. This time with Bud and Crawford, and I got sucked into it. I got to stop doing that on Twitter. Yeah. So it's just like, and it goes on to Shakur. I think the odds are against him. I know he wants to be the next Floyd. But what Floyd had in his favor is he was knocking people out when he was at that weight. When Floyd was coming up, he had Oscar, who was a megastar, a crossover star, to bounce his name off of and beat. We had Cotto, we had Mosley, we had all these guys.
He had Gotti.
Canelo is the last. Yeah, I mean, Canelo is the last crossover star. So I don't see how these youngsters think they're gonna just mimic that. And also, when I was watching boxing at that time, boxing was the premier fight sport. Now you have UFC. UFC's putting on shows every single weekend. And what's boxing doing? Putting on pay-per-view every single weekend on apps, and you really have to do your homework and how to watch it.
Yep.
And that's just why I don't think it's going to work. You know what I mean? So there's so many different dynamics with that. I don't know. What's your take on that?
I think you're making great points. Yeah, I mean, for Stevenson, he's really, really effective. He's really, really dominant. But I agree with what Thad, the previous caller, said. Top Rank knows what they're doing. They matched him at Herring at the perfect time. They cashed out on Valdez at the perfect time. They knew what they're doing. But what names does he have that where he can like really cross over? Because his style isn't that exciting. It's dominant, but it's not very exciting TV. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why I think we're in a spot we've never been in before. And before also, I think the loss of HBO was a huge blow because with the casuals, I mean, that's how I started watching boxing. They just commanded that I don't know, that attention. They had the right feel and everything, and it was really the pinnacle. So now you got CBC, you got the DAZN app, you just got Fox, you got all these different avenues, and like I said, it's too hard to keep up with. And casuals, if you have them follow they have to make 2 steps to watch a fight. You lost them. You already lost them. They're watching UFC by then. That's just how it goes. But no, I appreciate it, man. Hopefully Crawford Spence fight. My prediction is that it's going to take them at least a trilogy to find out who is the best. And I think it's already kind of late for that because they're already in their 30s and we don't even know if they're going to fight. And the back and forth is just horrible. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's called a win to that, but I'll end with that because I know that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
All right, man. Yeah, I'm aware of it, but you're right. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole right now. I appreciate it, bro. Good stuff, man.
All right, take it easy.
You too. We got a super chat from Mendeli. Thank you, Mendeli. I appreciate it, man. He says, hey, Montero, will the Beterbiev Smith unification be for the Ring Magazine light heavyweight title? Is it worthy or not? So here's the situation right now, okay? Right now we have Beterbiev rated number 1. We have Bivol rated number 2. We have Smith rated number 3. We got to see what plays out this weekend. depending on what happens this weekend, the ratings may shuffle. Now, if it ends up being after this weekend that Beterbiev is number 1 and Smith is number 2, then it will be for the ring belt, right? So there hasn't been a decision made yet, I don't believe, on that, because there's unfinished business right now with Dmitry Bivol, who's currently rated number 2. Okay. So depending on what plays out this weekend, it may affect whether Beterbiev Smith is for the ring belt. I hope that makes sense. All right, back to the phones, guys. I'm going to try to get through as many of these as I can, okay? I think this is Jack. Jack, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up? I was going to start off with a Katie Taylor impression, but I kind of felt bad doing it because she seems like a good person, and she's kind of getting...
Her voice is rough, bro. Her voice is rough.
Do you want to hear it? Do you want me to try it at least?
Go ahead, go for it.
Impression?
Give us 10 seconds. Go.
Hi, Michael Montero. My name's Katie Taylor. I just wanted to thank Amanda Serrano because...
That's actually pretty good.
No,
that's not bad. You got to add a little more of this into it. Add a little more hoarseness.
And then Pursuit. Oh, God. No, but dude, anyone saying that fight was a robbery? Okay, first of all, close fights aren't robberies. And Katie Taylor won too many of the later rounds and too many of the early rounds to lose. Like, I can't even see Serrano winning 6. 5, yeah. I had it 7-3. I know you said it's a little wide, but I had the first 4 for Taylor, and then I had I think 7, 8, and 9. 7, 8, 9, and then the first 4 for Katie Taylor. So I know you said I don't like to disagree with you a lot because you're right most of the time. But dude, I thought Katie Taylor was in control of this fight most of the time, and she was way more accurate. She was boxing very, very well. Mm-hmm. And I just don't see what all the fuss is about. I mean, I thought Katie Taylor clearly won this fight.
I agree with you. I thought, other than that 5th round, which was huge, obviously for Serrano, every other round was close and competitive, and Taylor edged the majority of them, in my opinion. She just did the better boxing. So I agree, bro.
Yeah, no, and the thing about women's boxing is, dude, Jake Paul, I got to give him a shit ton of props. I mean, I've been involved in the social media thing, more involved than you, because I'm younger and I know all these people. Mm-hmm. And that's not trying to be disrespectful.
No,
I've known the Paul. Yeah, but props to Jake Paul. I mean, dude, this fight was so awesome. Like, my dad and I woke him up to watch it. He's like, I don't want to see 2 women fight. And he was like, holy shit. Like, this is actually really good, because a lot of women fight just throwing punches, just 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. You know what I mean? They just throw punches at, most women fights are just throwing punches, standing in the pocket, just throwing 1-2s at each other, just eating punches. Am I wrong there? That's most women's fights.
No, I think you're right. In fact, I wouldn't even say 1-2. I would say it's not even a solid 1-2. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, but there's a lot of
1.5.
Yeah. There was Marlon Esparza, who I don't want to be disrespectful, but she had a title fight recently, and I watched it, and it was a sloppy performance. She didn't look like an elite level fighter to me. She just didn't.
No, yeah, and dude, they look like men fighting. I was saying to myself as soon as the first bell rung, Katie Taylor, her positioning, and Amanda Serrano, they're fighting like men.
Yes. 100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
They were fighting like men. And I was like, damn, this is a good ass fight though. But I'm glad. I hope they both got a really good paycheck. They're both warriors. One mistake that Katie Taylor made was, I feel like she's never been hit like that. Has she ever been hurt? I haven't seen many of her fights. I would assume not.
Not like that.
But she just wanted to show she was tough, which was so stupid. Dude, she was getting pummeled, and the fact she stood up was really impressive, though, because she took so many flush punches to the face.
Yeah, that's another thing that a lot of people are kind of just glancing over. They're talking about Serrano had this big moment, and if that was a 3-minute round, she would have got the knockout. Well, how about Katie Taylor standing up to that? And forget about gender. Most fighters, regardless of gender, would not have made it out of that round, period, even if it was just 2 minutes. And she did. I think she just, and not only that, she won the second half of the fight and busted up Serrano's face.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I don't know what she's going to do to impress people, but I was impressed.
Yeah. Okay. Then I want to get to the Shakur, then the Bivol Canelo fight. I know you got a lot of calls.
I do, bro.
But
round it off.
yeah.
Boom.
One more
Hit
thing
me
about
with it.
Yeah, one more thing about the Katie Taylor fight and Amanda Serrano. Props to both of them. I'm really glad they got that attention.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Jake Paul, like dude, even fucking Keemstar. I know you probably don't know who that is, but people who are total casuals, just social media, YouTuber influence around those people, dude, they were talking about the fight, and I was like, they really got fucking Keemstar like tweeting about this shit. So I mean, I'm really glad to see it, and I'd love to see a rematch. Okay, anyways. Shakur Stevenson, Oscar Valdez, dude. Shakur looked great, and I think he's a top 10 pound per pound fighter, like skill wise. But I still think that there's guys at 135 that could beat him. Like I think Lomachenko would beat him.
I don't know. I don't know what Loma has left at this point, but it would be obviously his toughest fight. I think a prime Lomachenko smokes him, but this Loma, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because Shakur, there was 2 rounds in the fight where Oscar Valdez decided to like fight back, not just throw. I think it was definitely round 3, and I think it was round 10. 2 rounds he clearly won. So it was like a 10-2 type fight. And dude, it reminded me a lot of Teofimo versus Lomachenko, except Oscar never came back.
Yeah.
It really sucked me that because he was so cautious. But dude, Shakur's defense impressed me so much. He had amazing defense. Like, I was so surprised how calm he was in the way that he was able to mix in his defense and offense. Because if you look at a guy like Canelo has never been able to move his head in those sequences while throwing punches. If you notice all the best head movement moments by Canelo, it's when he's not punching and he's only focused on moving his head.
That's true.
Shakur is just perfect at relaxing and moving away from punches. And dude, I was just really impressed. But great fight this weekend. And here we go, baby. Here we go. Canelo versus Bivol. So I've had a feeling about this fight for probably however long Bivol's been like successful, and I don't think it's changed. I know you changed your mind, but I was watching back some of his old fights, and it seems like a lot of the guys didn't want to engage with him, like all the newer guys he fought didn't want to engage with him the way like John Pascal or Joe Smith Jr. did. And Dmitry Bivol reminds me a lot of Vladimir Klitschko in the sense that if he's winning, he's just going to coast to a victory, and he's not going to try to get the knockout. He fights kind of on the level of the to the level of the opposition. So, it was wait. Okay, sorry. I just got a text from Christian. Anyways, so Canelo Bivol, I'm telling you, dude, I've had this feeling in my heart, in my head. I just don't see Canelo winning this. Bivol is such a good fighter. He's in his prime, 31 years old. He's been working on his strength, and I think he's definitely going to show up to fight. And, dude, I could even see him, because you cannot tell me that Bivol isn't a really hard puncher.
Hard enough, but...
Like, he coasts.
Hard enough, but I don't think... I agree with Thad. I don't think Bivol can stop Canelo. I mean, in theory, anyone can stop anyone, but I don't see that. I see a distance fight here.
Okay. So the guys that have gone the distance with Bivol, Isaac Chilemba, do you think who the hell's going to knock him out? Dude, the only guy that like stopped him was Alexander Bostic due to a hand injury. Dude went 12 rounds with Prime Kovalev, went 12 rounds with a later Alvarez, beat Tony Bellew, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember right. That dude's extremely hard to knock out. Joe Smith Jr., John Pascal, those guys are extremely hard to knock out. And, dude, Bivol, I just see his styles make fights. And, dude, it's literally the worst style possible. I always said there's no way Canelo can beat Bivol. Because people are saying, the scorecards like that is it's going to be controversial. I mean, if you win enough rounds against Canelo, there's simply no way they can rob. Like Mayweather, he won too many rounds against them to be robbed. I think it's going to look like that, and he might even stop Canelo late due to his combination punching. And, you know, Canelo, he's so used to, you know,
20 seconds.
Fighters
20 seconds.
Yo, what the fuck?
20
Dude,
seconds.
Okay.
Dude, I've cut everybody off in about 3 minutes. You've been on for almost 10, Jack. 20 seconds, baby. Let's go.
Okay, I'll just say, everyone bet your money on Bivol. He's going to win. Period.
All right. Yeah, on the record.
And you'll see.
And you get to rub it in
Period.
if you're right.
Hey.
You get to rub it in Monday if you're right.
Wait. My exact prediction is Bivol knockout round 11.
All right.
That's right.
There it is.
Like I said with the Usyk fight. There you go. All right, Mike. Sorry for
Jack.
taking so long. You guys have a good night.
Jack's like, what the fuck? Jack, you've been on 3 times as long as everybody else. All right. Trey asked a great question, and I want to hit on this real quick before I jump. Nacho's next, okay? So, Nacho, hang on. I'm going to get to you next. Trey asked, Mike, can you talk about the weight post by Jake Paul? So, for those of you who are not on Twitter, Jake Paul posted a video that he claims Amanda Serrano sent to a friend, okay? And that friend sent it to Jake, and Jake posted it on social. It's a video with Amanda in the bathroom with a guy. I can hear a guy's voice that's filming it. I don't know who the hell it is. But she's talking about, you know, I'm really a featherweight. And she jumps on a scale and she's, I think, 133 and some change, right? So, and it's basically, that's what she weighed in at for this fight. So I don't know exactly when she filmed this. I know it was at some point Sunday, the day after the fight, but was it first thing Sunday morning? Was it Sunday night? I really don't know. It literally could have been just a few hours after the fight, because you guys got to think East Coast time. By the time that fight's over, they're getting back to the hotel. It's Sunday morning. Okay. My thing is this: you were just in a 10-round fight. You might have weighed 138 going into the ring and sweat off 5 pounds. Okay. But I'm not even going to get into all that because I know for me, when I go to the gym or I go for a run, I easily drop 5 pounds sometimes just in sweat, just in water weight. Now I'm much bigger than Amanda, but you get the picture, okay? Either way, I think Jake Paul did her no favors by tweeting that. It's unnecessary. There's no reason for Serrano, and it wasn't Serrano posting this, okay? It was Jake Paul. I want to be clear about that. So I'm not trying to beat up on Serrano. By the way, Amanda doesn't run her Twitter account. Somebody else runs that. She doesn't run her social media at all. That's not her tweeting or posting stuff. That's people who handle her stuff doing that. But Jake Paul did her no favors because it takes away from the event. The excuses, talking about, oh, it should have been 3-minute rounds. Oh, we really were a featherweight moving up in weight. Just shut up about all that crap. It just takes away from it all. And the truth is, Amanda has fought as high as 140. She won a belt at 140, a world title at 140. Okay. So fighting Katie Taylor at 135, she agreed to that. 2-minute rounds, she agreed to that. Katie Taylor, again, who was the champion, agreed to come over and fight a Puerto Rican in New York. Okay. Outside of Florida, I can't think of an area of America with more Puerto Ricans than New York City. So you're an Irish person agreeing to fly to America to fight a Puerto Rican fighter in New York. Come on. She's fighting Amanda in her backyard. So both fighters made some concessions here. I would argue, based upon all the history, that Taylor made the bigger concession. So I just think that Jake did her no favors by tweeting that. And that was just a stupid move by Jake Paul. John Uden with another super chat. Thank you so much, bro. He said, people forget Canelo is still only 31 himself. Totally right, man. That's why Canelo is able to do what he's been doing right now, fighting these bigger guys and everything. You know what I'm saying? I think that he's still in his physical prime, clearly. And he's kind of been able to wait out some of these older dudes. Anthony Santiago says, Amanda Taylor said she doesn't even have a cell phone. Yeah, that's kind of hard to believe. But I do know she does not run her social media. All right, back to the phones, guys. Again, we'll get through as many of these as possible. Right now, we're going to hand it over to Nacho and hear what he's got to say.
Hey, Mike, what's going on? Just real quick, I'm just going to talk about the couple fights. With Serrano Taylor, I honestly think, Mike, the biggest thing was just that, like I told you on the Twitter I sent earlier, I think Serrano is going to end up kicking herself because of the fact that she had her chance to take out Taylor in the 5th round. She missed out on the opportunity to do that. And then basically from that point on, she allowed Taylor to get her second win, come back, and then take the majority of the rounds at the end. And that's why she was able to win the fight. I think if she had been able to take out Taylor in the 5th round, like she had her hurt and dazed and completely out of it, I think we're talking about Serrano right now being the undisputed weight champion. But she blew it, and right now she's kind of, with that post on Twitter, she's kind of giving sour grapes out there about the whole situation, kind of trying to, make excuses, and she shouldn't. She put up a hell of a fight, and this doesn't hurt her status at all. I think eventually she's going to get the rematch, or if not, she'll get another big fight against somebody. I mean, so I think she should have just been classy about it, moved on, and then, let it be, because there was no reason for her to comment on the whole weight gate, like you said. Just let the fight stand for itself. You don't need to say or do anything regarding the situation. And then with Valdez Stevenson, my biggest issue with Valdez was just, I don't know if it was him or whether it was Reynoso or whoever, that idea of telling Valdez to just stand in the middle and not really use a jab to set up his shots and not really try to, move side to side and kind of give angles and give Shakur something of a moving target. That was just horrible. Like, I couldn't believe he was just standing in front of the guy, letting him just tee off most of the fight. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, there's no way you're going to win this fight literally standing in front of the guy, telling him to hit you. Like, it made no sense. Like, that style was not going to work. And it was evident. And the only shot he really landed all night was that straight right that he would throw at times. Right. And he was able to land, the lead right. That was the only thing he was really able to land consistently all night. Everything else was just kind of, every once in a while he would throw a body shot that landed, but that was about it. I mean, Shakur negated his offense like as well as you can negate someone's offense. The biggest thing was just the size disparity, Mike. Shakur looked like a damn junior middleweight in there, and Valdez looked like I don't think he might have put on maybe 5 or 6 pounds after the weigh-in. The size difference was just massive. And you could see that that's why nothing that Valdez was able to land clean even hurt Stevenson. Like, he just kind of shrugged it off like it was no big deal. So, I give him credit. He won that fight clearly. There was no way that, Valdez was going to win that fight. To me, I keep hearing this thing about him saying he wants to unify 130. I really don't see the sense in it, Mike, because the other 2 guys who hold the belts, he's going to beat them easily, whether it's Roger Gutierrez or whether it's Kenshi Ogawa, who holds the IBF belt. Neither of those guys brings any kind of notoriety to Stevenson. They're just guys. So I think he beats those guys and he can unify, but in reality, he's not going to get the accolades that he wants. I think, honestly, he's not going to start to get that until he moves up to 35 and then starts taking on some of the more well-known guys at this point, because at 130, he's head and shoulders above pretty much everybody, in my opinion. So, we'll see. And then just real quick with the Canelo Bivol, I just hope it's a good fight, Mike. It's going to be an interesting matchup as far as can Bivol stay the classic 1-2, stay outside boxer, really try to limit how much he engages, get in and out with his shots? Or is Canelo going to do to him what he did to Caleb Plant? Kind of let him build his confidence, let him think he's setting traps, let him think he's hitting Canelo and, winning the fight. And then eventually, as the fight wears on, Canelo wears him down. And then eventually either wins a close decision, or who knows, maybe even he stops him. But that's what's intriguing about the fight, and I just hope it ends up being a good fight. That's my call, Mike.
All right, thanks, Nacho. Good stuff, man.
All right, man. Yeah, thanks.
I hope it's a good fight. I hope that I just hope there's no controversy. God, I'm trying to be positive and not think that way. If there is, we'll talk about it Monday, guys. Let's go right back to these phones, man. And we're going to 631. You are on the show. What's up?
Hey, Mike, it's Keith. Yeah, from Seta. How's it going?
What's up, Keith? How you doing, man?
Good. I'll be pretty quick. I know you got a lot on the phone. Got a few people on the phone. So I didn't get the call last week, just with the audio stuff, but I just wanted to give my feedback on the Fury fight and his standing and everything. Obviously, it was a really good fight. Fury showed many levels. Top heavyweight. I think part of me thinks that he might be ducking Usyk or doesn't want the fight because he's stated multiple times in the past. He just doesn't like the style of a smaller heavyweight who's kind of agile, kind of like when Steve Cunningham gave him issues previously when they first fought. That's actually ironically when I became a Fury fan because I was rooting against him. Then he's saying afterwards, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's a character." But I hate to see him retire and not take on the winner of Joshua Usyk because if he does that right now, I'm a Fury fan. I'll say that he is not in the top 10 greatest heavyweights of all time. Personally, in my opinion, I think you can make him top 20, arguably, just because he beat Klitschko. He's the best of our era so far. But there's a difference between being the greatest of all time, but beating any of the other great heavyweights on any given night. Because with his style, his size, his speed, and everything, I think he can trouble anyone.
Agreed.
So that's in regards to Fury. And then the Valdez Shakur Stevenson fight, I think Shakur Stevenson, like Nacho said, he's really going to kind of step into his own when he gets up to 135, just because the other two title holders, they don't move the needle. They don't have a lot of notoriety, and no one knows who they are. He's the only chink I see in his armor is that he kind of pulls straight back. He's susceptible to a straight right hand. So someone like if Teofimo Lopez stays around or anyone at 135, even Ryan Garcia, if he can pull the trigger, he can kind of tag him. But his dude's defense is great. It's really good. He's kind of Mayweather-esque in that, where his defense, he can sit around and find you, make the other person miss, but he wasn't a killer at 130 pounds like Mayweather was. And yeah, Kenny Bellis was pretty incompetent in that fight. He kept warning him about the low blows and the raking and all that stuff, and he didn't do anything.
There's like 1,000 warnings. He never took a point. I'm like, Jesus, dude. It was really frustrating to watch.
Yeah. It really was, to be honest with you. And then I'll get to that. I'll segue into that in a second. And then the Taylor Serrano fight, that was a great fight. Historical fight. Everyone was a winner in that fight. I saw that Jake Paul and Eddie Hearn made a $1 million bet for whichever fighter won. They would have obviously paid the other promoter $1 million. Eddie Hearn came out and said that Jake Paul pulled out and didn't uphold his side of the bet. But you make a good point that the fight should be in Ireland, just because Katie Taylor is the champion. She won. She gave the concession. She conceded the fight in New York, and that should be a fight. I heard that they might do a crossover fight too between Katie Taylor and Holly Holm, or Katie Taylor and Chris Cyborg. And just give us a damn Serrano fight. That was a great fight. But yeah. My last point is late last year on the show, I said that I was going to create a platform to improve boxing. And I just been, the last 8 or 10 months, I've actually been going through a career change myself. So I've been extremely busy. I've been kind of doing that on the side here and there. So I initially intended to create an app. Just haven't had the time to do it. I actually created a website. The website it's a work in progress. Nothing crazy yet, but it's going to evolve. It's essentially a platform where people can subscribe for free. There's a free subscription, and there's also a more premium subscription because I have to put in time to do certain things, where they can vote on what fights they want to see, the business of boxing, the landscape, and just get feedback. And then the premium subscription is dealing with people like Kenny Bayless and commissions, where I've started creating relationships with commissions and they told me that they will take my feedback and they'll look at my data as to what people are talking about. I'm basically creating a platform where fight fans all over the world can subscribe and give me their input, give the company, give us input. And it's just me right now, and really try and change this damn thing, because honestly, like, boxing has been losing its ground. You look up I look up on my computer, oh, UFC has a great fight going on. We can't get Spence Crawford for within the last 4 or 5 years. So, I want to make a change, and this is one of the things I've been thinking about. Instead of becoming a pro myself, I'd rather just utilize a grassroots movement and have everyone kind of go behind the idea of making boxing better again, or dare I say, make boxing great again. I'll drop in the chat.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and we'll definitely, I'll blast it on the show, man. All right, I'll get it out there. But yeah, go ahead and throw it in the chat right now, and then we'll plug it on the show once you get everything 100% up.
Okay, cool.
All right. Thanks a lot,
yeah.
man.
All right, well, that's my call.
All right, thanks, Keith.
Have a good one.
You too, man. Peace. All right, another super chat from Sam. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it, brother. He says, I like Bivol, has length and great left hook, great chin, plus 400 odds are great. Eventually, these guys will be too big, and Bivol is a live dog. Yeah, and let me add to that, because I may have not articulated my feelings clearly earlier. I think Bivol is an extremely live dog in this fight. I think that Bivol poses the greatest threat to Canelo since his fights with Golovkin. He's clearly the best opponent that Canelo has faced since he fought Triple G twice a few years back. He's, I think, a level above Smith and Plant and Saunders and all those guys. I really do. I just don't know if it's enough. To me, and I think it was John in the chat made a comment. The fact that Canelo chose to take this fight, because Canelo can fight whoever the hell he wants, it shows that they see something. They see something in Bivol that they think they can exploit. The question for me is, has Bivol been playing possum a little bit? Has he been pulling back? Because he did so well for a while there. I mentioned the 4-fight run he went on in 2018, 2019. Everyone avoided him after that. Everyone. Nobody's wanted to fight this guy. So as he pulled back a little bit and maybe just fought down to the level of his opposition, done just enough, is he playing possum? Is he going to come out and show us levels that we haven't seen before against Canelo? Is Canelo going to force Bivol out of his comfort zone and force him to fight, and Bivol will show us levels we just never seen? That is the question. And it's absolutely possible. He's absolutely a live dog. It's just hard. I think it's going all 12 rounds. I can't see him knocking out Canelo. Again, just like Thad said, if Golovkin couldn't do it, and Golovkin's much more dynamic offensively than Bivol. Bivol kind of does one thing over and over. He just does it very well. I don't think so. I think it's going to distance, and it's just going to be very difficult. The way Canelo has learned to win rounds like Andre Ward, like Bernard Hopkins, like Floyd Mayweather. He studied those guys and watched how they stole rounds, like Katie Taylor. Shit, let's put Katie Taylor in that list. He's learned how to do that, and he's going to do it against Bivol. And I see a decision win for Canelo. But hey, I'd love to be wrong, not because I'm rooting against Canelo, but because I love an upset special. Derek in the chat asked, could Katie Taylor retire now and be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Yes. Yes, that's it. I don't even need to go into it. Yes. All right, back to the phones real quick, guys. We're running out of time, but let's go to 818 real quick. You're on the show.
Yes, I'll be real quick with it. I wanted to say I agree with you about that the Matchroom card was much better than Top Rank, top to bottom. I'm not sure what the idea going behind trying to compete with Taylor Serrano, which we knew was going to be bigger throughout the boards. I mean, people on social media were even, you could see the engagement was probably more towards Serrano Taylor versus Stevenson and Valdez. And it's funny that, in an interview, Bob Arum was talking about no one really cares about women's boxing when he has a women's fighter in his stable. So that really, right. I know that didn't make sense, but granted, the guy's 90 years old, so he doesn't really have a filter anymore.
And he's high all the time.
So, and then, Yeah, no, I get it. But one of the two last points, and then I'll wrap it up, is there are not really a lot of fights, I personally get emotional about. I've only have a selective few. There's Gotti Ward, Corrales Castillo, Hagler Hearns, and I feel like now on that list we have Serrano Taylor, and we can potentially have more because of a rematch and possibly a trilogy, which I think could happen. Jim Lampley once, he called Gotti Ward round 9 his most emotional. I could see, for me personally, 5 and 10 were just like, it was almost tear jerking, just like they're leaving it all out in the ring. And comparing it to Stevenson Valdez, I get it, different styles and everything. You can't even compare the two. Like I said earlier, the engagement was way more towards Serrano and Taylor. And lastly, before I let you go, I wanted to ask, you were mentioning all the potential fights for women coming up, Marshall, Shields, and Bumgarner Mayer. Can these fights be, in the eyes of, as many people, just as big or just as big as Serrano and Taylor? Or are we going to see it more just on these undercards of, a male fight? I wanted to get your opinion on that.
I think there'll be headlining fights. I think Mayer Bumgarner would be a headlining ESPN card. I think that Shields Marshall, that'd be a headlining, probably DAZN card. But they're not going to be as big as Taylor Serrano. All the right elements worked out for this fight. The promotional element, the international element, just everything worked. The date, the venue, all of it worked. And now there's a rivalry here. It was a close fight. There was blood and guts, as you said. And if they do a rematch at the end of this year, November, December, let's say, in Ireland, and let's say Serrano wins it, then, dude, we get a rubber match next year back in New York. And you have a fantastic rivalry that women's boxing has never had. They need this. You could get a trilogy out of this. So if they do it right, yeah, dude. And so Shields Marshall is fantastic. So is Mayer Bumgarner, but it's not going to be this. This is the biggest.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. And there's not going to be. I could feel it's going to be a long time till we see something at this magnitude again. And, possibly we won't get it for another 10, 15, 20 years. But, I mean, we have to appreciate that it's here now, and that possibly there will be a trilogy, and, hope for the best and the best woman win. But anyway, I want to let you go, and you have other callers, so thank you for taking my call.
Thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, John in the chat says, what about Amanda Taylor versus Katie Serrano? Dude, did I butcher the names again? I don't know what's wrong with me today, guys. Look, it's almost fight week for me, so my brain is really scattered. So I really, really apologize to both of these ladies because I keep screwing up their names. I'm so sorry. They don't deserve that. And I know I've butchered, especially Serrano. I keep calling her Amanda Taylor. I don't know what's wrong with me. So I'm really sorry. All right, back to the phones. Let's knock out a couple more of these if we can. We got 213 on the show. What's up?
Hey, Mike. How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Don't they already have the 3-round option for women's fighting anyway? Just have the rematch with 3 rounds.
Yeah, a lot of people are suggesting that, but once again, dude, I think it's Taylor's decision. She won the first fight, and you got to understand.
It's not going to work out for Serrano at 3 minutes. Yeah, it's not going to work out for Serrano at 3 minutes for sure. I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I
have a question about. Yeah, I have a question about 140 and the screaminess that's going on in that division. I thought Taylor said he was fighting Alberto Pulo for the WBA mandatory. That was what I heard last, and he was going on vacation with his family.
I haven't heard anything substantial. It really comes down to, look, all those titles are going to get busted up, and he's eventually going to move up in weight.
Yeah.
They're all going to get stripped. So he's going to have to make a decision. Well, do I want to fight for the BC, the BA, or do I just dump all these damn belts and move up to 147? So, yeah, that's what he's going to do.
Okay. How is Tio jumping up in this division right now when he hasn't fought? I don't understand that. Could you explain that one to me?
Tio, what, 140?
Teofimo Lopez. Yeah, he's ranked number 2 in the WBO right now.
Well, he's with Top Rank, dude. We're Bob's organization.
I know, but he hasn't fought in this division yet, right?
Yeah. Well, the BO tends to they tend to highly rate champions, former champions that move up in weight. You know, that's just the way the WBO does business. So.
Okay, and why is the BA lowering Gary Antoine Russell's rankings, I think, after he beat Postal? I don't understand that.
Why does the WBA do anything they do? Yeah, that's like asking. Like, I mean, come on, man. It's the WBA. Okay. I can't answer that. They're fucking nuts, man.
All right. Then one last question is: which fight do you think was better, the Fury fight or the Tyson Plain fight? And then I'm off.
Okay, which fights? What, Fury White, and which other one?
Yeah, Fury White or the Tyson with the airplane fight. You didn't hear about that?
Yeah. I saw that.
Because it happened on that same week. You know what I mean?
That guy was an asshole. He deserved it. I thought Tyson did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong, man.
Right, well, which fight was better, do you think?
Well, I didn't get to see the Tyson fight on the plane. So we got ripped off there.
So you didn't see this? Oh, there's video out there. Go look for it, man. Shit. Go look for it.
Oh, I didn't know there was video.
Yeah,
I saw video of the dude harassing Tyson, but I didn't see the video of Tyson actually.
If you look hard enough, I'm sure it's somewhere on the net. I didn't look personally, so I can't verify one way or the other, but I heard there's full video of it. So
that's awesome. I'd love to find that. That'd be fucking great.
I'm off, Mike.
All right, thanks a lot, brother.
All right.
Have a good one. All right. Man, we still got so many calls, guys. I got to wrap it up at 2 hours, so we got 7 minutes to go. I want to make sure I didn't miss. I thought I saw a super chat. No, I didn't. I'm just okay. I'm seeing things. All right, back. We got a UK caller, so let's get this UK caller on. Okay, we got looks like 780 in the UK. You were on the show. What's up?
Listen, Babby, this is Kel Brook. I told this Americana to spark him out, and I did. Got these chocolate brownies.
All right, what's up, Kel? How you doing, man?
Chris Bergen, how you doing?
What's up, Chris? How you doing? I thought that was you.
I thought I'd do the old Cal Brook impression. How you doing?
That's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. I pictured the bare butt cheeks walking on the beach. What was it? Him and his trainer walking on the beach naked. That was such a disturbing photo that I saw.
Oh, did you see that about Dominic Ingle drinking Cal Brook's sweat?
Yes. Oh, what the hell is going on with that, man? That's so weird.
Oh my God, that was so bizarre.
Oh,
you drink my sweat, it was fine. Don't worry about that. Drink my sweat.
It's just disgusting, man.
Oh, yeah.
Derek says,
how you doing? How you doing, man? Are you good?
Derek Williamson in the chat says that impression is only 5 out of 10. Damn, Derek, you're a tough critic. I'm gonna go 6.5. I'm gonna go 6.5.
That was pretty harsh. I thought it was about an 8 or something.
I'm gonna go 7. I will go 7. But 5 is harsh. Anyway. All right. Well, so you got
brownies,
4
you don't
minutes.
know.
You got 4 minutes to operate with, Chris.
Okay. I want to just talk about the upcoming fight. Well, first of all, we'll talk about Fury and White. I know it was 2 weeks ago, but I was me and the missus were away, and we did some whitewater rafting. It was great.
Cool.
And then I thought Fury White was not very good. I thought, the White was poor in that fight. So we'll talk less about that actually. So we'll talk about fights that are upcoming. I think Canelo beats Bivol by unanimous decision. I think Charlo beats Castano by unanimous decision.
Yeah.
I think Gervonta Davis obviously is going to beat Rolly Romero. So we need to talk about that one. Benavidez against Lemieux, I think he'll win that as well, unanimous decision. Fulton versus Roman, unanimous decision. Inoue, I think he will win by TKO this time against Dinair. I don't know what you think about that one.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Inoue it learned so much in that first fight that I think he's probably going to stop.
Definitely. Although absolutely fantastic fight, but I do think Inoue wins that by TKO. What about this? Is a great fight. Bam Bam versus Rungvisai. What do you think about that one?
I got to go with youth in that one. I think it's going to have some tough moments, but Rungvisai has kind of been up and down in his performances lately. So I'm going to go with Rodriguez, but I think it's going to be a great fight, man. Great fight. It's in Texas,
really,
too,
yeah.
So that's going to help Bam. I think it's going to, emotionally push him through.
I'm going to go the other way with Rungvisai, but I mean, that guy, he lost momentum big time, man. He beat Chocolatito twice, and after that, he just never fought anyone else, did he?
Yeah. He kind of went back over to Thailand, and he fought a couple of guys over there, but his career kind of stalled out a little bit. And again, momentum matters. And, the location of this fight and everything else, I think it will go the distance, but I like Rodriguez.
Yeah, but I still think Rungvisai, though, because from what I saw from him back then, it was unbelievable. He looked fantastic when I saw him.
Like a little tank.
I mean, we'll see how he goes. I know it's a few years later now, but we'll see how it goes. And then last thing I would say is talking about Jake Paul was involved with the Katie Taylor fight and everything. I think if he fights Tommy Fury, Jake Paul beats Tommy Fury. What do you think about that?
You're not alone. I think a lot of people, especially after Tommy Fury's last fight, he did not look very good. I think he has a real chance, but it would be a massive, as crazy as it sounds, Chris, that would be a big step up for Paul, because he'd be going from absolute novices to a guy that isn't very talented, but he is a trained boxer. So it still would be a big step up. But I think you're right. I think he actually could beat Tommy Fury, which would be huge. That really would.
Have you seen the video of Tyson Fury when Tyson Fury is getting into a limo with his friends and everything, and he doesn't let Tommy Fury into the limo? Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that, but that sounds pretty
He
funny.
told him he's not allowed. Tyson told Tommy he's not allowed in the limo. He said, you need to go home to your girlfriend,
Wow.
And he's having to go to him. He's like, if you want to beat Jake Paul, you need to go home and train more. And he's like, you should not be going to these pubs and having a party and stuff like that. Have you not seen it?
No, I haven't seen it, but that's great by Tyson to say that because he's right.
Yeah, he keeps having to go to him and telling him, you need to go home with the girlfriend, get a plan together. If you want to win these, fights, you need to train harder and stuff like that. So
he's right. This is a full-time gig, baby. You can't half-ass it.
Exactly.
So
exactly. All right. Cheers, Mike. Good to speak to you.
All right, brother. Good to hear from you, man. Have a great night. We'll do it again soon.
And yourself.
All right.
Take care, brother. Bye.
That's it, guys. We're right up at 2 hours. One last super chat from Leonardo Campos Vasquez. He says, we need Shakur Stevenson versus Emmanuel Navarrete before he moves up from 130. I know Top Rank would like to do that. Does Navarrete want to do that? I don't know. His length might pose problems for Shakur that Valdez couldn't do. So that might be interesting. I would love to see that fight. Absolutely. But I don't know if Navarrete and his people want to see that fight. All right, guys. Great freaking show. Great calls. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of you. But enjoy your week, and we'll do a Friday over on my channel, all right? I'll see you at the fights. Peace.